took a walk around the world to ease my troubled mind. I left my body lying somewhere in the sands of time, but I watched the world flow to the... Okay, so you saw the question on the screen. It's a legitimate question, right? Sort of. Someone explained to him how no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime are tax cuts for the rich. When I said sort of, when I said a legitimate question, it would be a legitimate question if anybody actually called those things that. Nobody is. Nobody is calling not taxing tips a tax cut for the rich. Nobody is calling no tax on Social Security a tax cut on the rich, and nobody is calling no tax on overtime a tax for the rich. You just made that shit up. We're calling the tax cuts they want to make for the upper earners a tax cut for the rich. This is a bullshit promise that's probably never going to come true. And if it does come true, it's going to blow an even bigger hole into our deficit and add even more money to our debt. As is, with just what they passed, which was just a resolution talking about how we're gonna these are the targets that we're trying to hit. No specifics. Without the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, which wasn't in that package. Sorry, phone call came in. Without that being in what they passed, if they're able to hit it, would already add over $300 billion to this year's deficit. If they actually passed no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, it would be an even bigger number. It would be well over that 300 plus billion mark to our deficit this year. That's a separate issue. The no tax, the tax cuts for the rich, that's over here. That's part of their plan on this side. They want to give another, what was it, $1 trillion? I forget what the actual number is. Tax cut to the upper earners. That's what we're calling a tax cut for the rich. This over here, this is a bullshit promise to get people like you to vote for him. Elect me, and I'm going to do away with taxing your overtime. Do you honestly think the federal government is going to stop collecting all of that revenue? Republican or Democrat? Now, should Social Security be taxed? No. Social Security should never be taxed. Overtime? Yeah, I think overtime should be taxed just like any other income. Tips? It's income. So if we're going to have a true income tax, then yeah, probably. So I can agree with the Social Security part. I don't necessarily agree with the overtime part and or the tips part. And overtime part, I don't agree with. I think that it's income. It should be taxed no matter what. But once again, that wasn't in the bill. And if they pass that, it's going to add to an already massive number that they're proposing to add to our deficit. So now that we've established the fact that nobody's calling the no tax on tips, Social Security, and overtime a tax cut for the rich. They're two separate things. Why is it that you support the tax cuts for the rich? You support the no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, I'm assuming. Okay, fine. Why do you support the tax cuts for the rich? What is it about taxing rich people that you are opposed to? You do realize that even in the farthest left of the left-leaning thought process on taxing millionaires and billionaires, well, maybe not on the farthest left, but regardless, if the plans that have been put forth go into place, millionaires and billionaires would still be millionaires and billionaires. Their lives wouldn't change at all. They would still have their mansions and their jets and their boats and their rocket ships and their submarines and whatever the fuck else they have. I don't know. I'm not rich. Never have been. They don't miss a beat. They just have a little less hoarded wealth. But they can still live their life exactly how they want to. Michael Jordan can still pull up to the south of France in his multi-billion-dollar yacht. Just live like a goddamn king. And we can solve other problems. So why are you opposed to that?